I really love this. I thought this was great when this came out. So primal, connecting deep within, sacred dance and instinct, and then you have nature. Now, primal to me is my going out and having a good time card, but this is like the nightlife. There may be people around you that are going to be noticing you, being more attracted to you because you're tapping into the part of yourself that is untamed, right? And you're giving it freedom now. So it's almost like tapping into your true nature, but it's in a positive way. It's that sacred dance of, primal instincts, but it's not in a negative way. For those of you who are tapping into that, I think nature here is saying that not only are you tapping into your own true nature, but it's also saying that, know your connection with the world around you. That is a part of this one. But whatever it is that you are tapping into about yourself right now, it's important that it's being put to use in a way where your world is going to look more natural to you and not, what other people want to see from you. This may be about a part of yourself that you may have been suppressing, right? And it's getting back to, those deeper feelings, those deeper motivations, right? But it is about authenticity of self, especially with nature and your own true nature with primal. All right, Leo, here we go. Here is your overall, the Seven of Wands. All right. So with this being the overall, I get the feeling that some of you are needing to stand up for yourself now. Some of you may be experiencing opposition. Others of you may be setting boundaries. But this is about you speaking up now, standing up for yourself, your beliefs. Now, for some of you, it may be that you're going to face opposition with where you are wanting to go. But again, you always have the higher ground with the Seven of Wands. This is, I will beat you off if I have to. This is about you holding your position. In the past, the Eight of Swords. And again, there's the feeling of suppression. With the Eight of Swords being the past, and I look at this one and I think, who's pulling the strings here? So for some of you, especially with the Seven of Wands, it almost feels like there has been an outside person or situation that has been keeping you trapped and not allowing you to see a way forward to, whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve. But I think that you make a stance here, obviously, with the Seven of Wands because it becomes more important. Now, the Eight of Swords could be saying, though, that your own thoughts have been keeping you trapped in a past situation. But either way, the Seven of Wands is a huge indicator here that you're not going to be playing that game anymore. Oh, yeah, look at it. In the present, the Eight of Cups, it's you've had enough. You've had enough. And, I don't want to say that this is manipulation, but I almost feel like for those of you who are dealing with another person, it was almost important for them to keep you where they wanted you. And this being in the present moment is you finally realizing how much you've invested into this and what you haven't been getting back. And like I always say with the Eight of Cups, it's easier said than done. You may be considering moving on from something that is no longer emotionally fulfilling for you. And some of you may actually be doing this now. Sometimes we have to stay with it for a little bit, right? And figure it out. Is there something here that's worth saving? Which could be the case. Or is it time for you now to realize how much of yourself that has been drained by staying in this position of the Eight of Swords where I feel like somebody else is pulling the strings here? But this is you going, oh, hell no. Hell no, I ain't doing that anymore. For some of you, it could be a job. I'm stuck with this job. I have no choice. The company, the corporation, whatever is pulling the strings, but this is you going enough is enough with the Eight of Cups. But we'll see what's going on here. Oh, yeah. Very nice, very nice. And that would make sense why we're looking at the Seven of Wands. The Ace of Pentacles being in future conditions. And you're literally walking away from a situation that has been keeping you trapped to this new beginning here. The Ace of Pentacles, we could be talking about a new job, right? Changing your career here. Or it could just be anything that could create long-lasting abundance in your life, but it's about what is realistic and practical, something that's going to give you tangible results. But this is something that is definitely worth fighting for. And you're not standing down. And it's not about competition. It's not like a Five of Wands type of situation. You are better than the rest here with the Seven of Wands. But you're not going to get caught up in any kind of pettiness. There is nothing left to prove anymore, right? But the Ace of Pentacles is perfect. But you can't have this until you have moved on from this situation that's been keeping you stuck. All right. Your best path to follow, the Seven of Cups. Don't get caught up in the fantasy of what could be. You know, this is about fantasizing about things, but not wanting to make it reality. It's being content to fantasize, having your head in the clouds. You know, get out of that. Don't walk into a new opportunity holding on to these emotional expectations that may not be real. But when it comes to options, don't know what you're fighting for. Know what it is that you're fighting for yourself rather than being in this position, right? This is one of those things where the feeling is that whatever this is, Leo, you can't see it to the end. Because we're at 2 8s here. You've seen about as much as you're going to see from this. And it's interesting because, you know, it almost has the feeling of like the Seven of Pentacles, right? But instead it's you now standing up for yourself for a new opportunity. But know what you're fighting for, right? What is that new beginning for you? But what it needs to be is something that is practical and realistic, not caught up in fantasy. You know, and then the other part of that, though, too, because of the Eight of Cups sitting in the present moment, don't get caught up in this idea of this changing, because you've been in this position, I think, for far too long, because it wouldn't force your hand here. Wow, man. All right. In your environment, the King of Cups, and, you know, emotional manipulation, and I say that because of it being connected to the Eight of Swords is your past and the Eight of Cups is your present. This could be someone that you are dealing with in your environment. Could be male, female. It could be talking about water sign. But I question on whether or not this person is truly in control of their own emotions. Now, if they have the ability to be open emotionally, why is it that you are drained? Right? So now the other part of this, though, this could be you, whether you're male or female. It could be you opening up to your own heart here, but being in better control of how you feel and how much you are giving of yourself emotionally. Because again, the King of Cups is very different than the Queen. He is not as heavily involved and certainly is not someone who would allow other people to emotionally manipulate. So it's one or the other here. This is either going to be about you being in better control of your emotions and what you're feeding into emotionally, or it's going to be about someone who may be playing on your emotions. And it may be that it's time now. It may be time to walk away from somebody who just doesn't fully open up to you, because you're not getting what you need here. You've been continuously filling these cups. It's almost like every time it empties out, you're like, I got to fill this back up. I got to do this, right? But that's because somebody is pulling the strings. And I do think that the Seven of Cups is, you know, about you being in a place of believing that it's possible that this can be restored, possibly with the person, you know? But we need something more realistic. And maybe that's what you're fighting for with this person. Like, I'm done doing this with you. This is where we need to go. You're either coming or you're not. But I really think that it's about no longer allowing yourself to be controlled by a certain person or a certain situation. Your hopes and your fears, the Three of Wands. There is something that, you know, you have had in the works. And I look at the Three of Wands and I always think of the two coming before this. There was a decision to take action. You had plans. There was something that was planned out. You took action toward that. The Three of Wands is you starting to see things develop. right? But this, I always say, you should already know what to expect here. And I don't think it's about you waiting for something that isn't going to show up. I think it's you hoping that these plans will continue to a place of stability. So you've already acted on this opportunity before, but being able to realize it isn't coming until future conditions. And the thing is it becomes something that you need to stand up for. Somebody else is not allowed to, dictate what happens here. Now, this may be somebody who is controlling emotionally in terms of, your work, your career, that, or like I said, this could be you, like trying to control your own emotions and prevent yourself from abandoning something. But the thing is again, Leo, this is something that isn't fulfilling you anymore. You've already taken action toward this. The opportunity does show up. What you're expecting does come through. But you're not going to be able to reach the place of stability if you're not standing up for yourself and not being in this place of, maybe it isn't realistic. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. But what do you expect? What is it that you are expecting, though? But I like the Three of Wands in terms of you looking toward the long term, though, too. And then coming out the Eight of Pentacles, yeah. So for some of you, it will have to do with your career, but putting in a lot of effort here, busting your ass, not letting anything stand in your way, and you will see the benefits of the effort that you put through. You've already taken action toward this. You've just been waiting for it to show up. In the meantime, you're being emotionally drained by someone or some situation that is controlled, but I don't see it as a bad thing. Now, we could be saying here, though, that you are setting some boundaries with someone. If they're not opening up emotionally to you, it's like, this is enough now. The situation's been stuck for too long, right? So for some of you, if this is about changing what you're doing, and then with the Page of Pentacles, right, if this is about like schooling or education, it may be that, for some of you, you've done as much as you possibly can, but you may be drained and wore out, and maybe it is time for you to take an opportunity to do something new. You've already taken action toward that. Whatever is keeping you trapped, right, it's more about you not allowing somebody to do that, or you being in better control of how you feel about what you are putting your time and effort into. But it's something that's worth fighting for. But again, like I said, this is something that you've already taken action toward. You've already set this into motion. The communication has been sent back and forth. And there is that opportunity to start building towards something here. But you can't do it until you walk away from what is emotionally draining. And that's where the Knight of Swords is coming through. But this may be also direct, harsh communication. If I could talk right, let me slow down. This may be you needing to get control of yourself, not hold yourself back anymore, and speak a truth that needs to be put out there. Because it's not about a response anymore. I've always said that with the Knight of Swords, whatever it is that he's communicating, it's you're going to listen to me and that's it. And then you got the Seven of Wands sitting there. This is my truth. You either accept it or you don't. But either way, you are taking action toward a new beginning. And then you have the Star. Right? Now, this could go either way. It could be about, you considering walking away from a person, needing to get out of your head about what could be here and start looking at things more realistically. There may be an opportunity if boundaries are set. It will take a lot of hard work, but with the Star, we're talking about hope being returned, healing, seeing the bigger picture. And for some of you, if it's about career, this is about you being able to follow what your heart really wants, right? But being in better control of that, not being in a place of, yeah, it could happen, but I just don't see it, especially with the Eight of Swords coming through. But I see a lot of you putting in a lot of hard work, standing up for yourself for a new opportunity. That is something that, is bigger than just the Nine of Cups here. This is a big time wish, a big time hope, and a big time goal. But in terms of a relationship, it could indicate some healing here. With a lot of hard work, there could be some healing. But you have to be free, though, because I go back to your oracle cards and I think, especially with the Eight of Swords coming through, you can't be in situations where you're being confined and you cannot be authentically you. And then just like Cancer, psychic knowing, right? This is really about you paying attention to what you know to be the truth, what you psychically know to be the truth, very much like the High Priestess. And that only happens when you allow yourself the space to reconnect with spirit, reconnect with your own soul and what your own soul wants, because that path will start to emerge. You may have already started the communication, or somebody else may have started that with you. But the groundwork is being laid here for something bigger and better, especially with the star. But you have to reconnect with your own spirit, your own soul. Psychically, you need to trust what you know to be the truth. And this is like almost taking an unknown path where you're not really sure what's going to happen. But the thing is you do. You just need to trust that. And then I love you. These are very important words. And it may be that you need to say this to yourself in order to heal the past hurts. Or it may be that you are saying it to someone, right? But honesty and direct communication with that Knight of Swords is going to be important to see things develop the way that you had hoped for, right? But yeah, I would say that there's going to be some healing of, some past wounds here for sure. But as far as I love you, it's important to say that to everyone that is important to you. But I love it, Leo. I love it. I see you putting in a lot of hard work toward a better opportunity here. And definitely something that's worth fighting for you.